What are you doing?
I found a demo of WWE's 2K20. Actually looks pretty good. I'm looking forward to it coming out.
What's that?
It's a video game, Ma. What does it look like I'm doing?
You're 37 years old and you're still playing video games?
Well, I gotta play them now, because somebody's cheap ass wouldn't buy them for me when I was a kid.
Well, you were such a terrible kid. You were always misbehaving and getting in trouble in school. You got suspended every other day. You're lucky I fed your little ass. And by the way, nothing's changed. You're still a fucking asshole.
Oh, Mom.
It's time for another wrestling podcast. All right. Are you fucking kidding me?
Guys, I got blocked again on Twitter.
I'm your mark of marks.
That's the most reliable source on the interwebs.
The social assassin at your disposal, bitches.
All right. Welcome to episode 232. I'm your mark of marks, Credo.
And I am, of course, the social assassin at your disposal, bitches.
That's
Angry
right.
Kuters. That's right. Let me get my name in before you interrupt me. All right, let's have some fun tonight, Credo, huh?
That's what I'm saying, man. Joining us tonight, we have a very special guest, WWE superstar Natalya, and also Total Divas star Kutterman. I love Natalya. You know how much I love the Heart Foundation alone.
Credo, I know you are super, super excited for this. You know why? Because ever since we were little marks, you have been the biggest Bret Hart mark, Heart Foundation mark, everything all about the heart. So I know you were super excited over this one.
Hey, man, when people took sides, I was always on Bret's side. So I love it, man. Natalya will be joining me, Cooter, later. We're going to talk a little bit about Total Divas happening in a few weeks. Season 9, can you believe it or not? And we're going to talk about some WWE 2K20 because this year they have the women's whole rise to the top, if you will, a little evolution, a part of the game, the first time ever that the women's, this whole story mode is going to be a part of it. So we'll see what she has to say with that. But now, Cooter, for everybody listening out there, if you haven't heard about us before, if you haven't listened to us before, anotherwrestlingpodcast.com is your mothership for everything AWP. Tune into that. But this week's a little bit sad, Cooter. We had the death of Diane Rosati 9 months after her sister Vivian died.
I unfortunately never got the opportunity to meet them, but I've always heard from the local fans here in Poughkeepsie how awesome they really were, how just nice they were to everybody. So, I mean, it's a big loss for the fans in the local area for us because they were like just the top of the top marks on TV. You know what I mean?
No, yeah, for sure. And even they were always number one fans over at the Hudson Valley Renegades. They would always bring like raccoon puppets and all this other stuff. But I remember as a kid seeing them at the Mid-Hudson Civic Center in Poughkeepsie, and they would always taunt the wrestlers. Like, I mean, as a kid watching it, you know, it was we were just watching, enjoying the show, but seeing somebody actually taunt them, and they were just like a part of the show pretty much every time you went. But I spoke with them actually a few years ago before we even did AWP. I talked to them because they have some great stories around here. I mean, they tell me a story about the time they were at Double O in Wappingers Falls, which was, I forget what the name of it was years ago, but they met Vince McMahon back there.
Oh, Rolling Rock.
Rolling Rock, yeah. They have a time. So I guess when WWE was in town, her whole story was about how the guys were eating over there, and they went up to go meet Vince. And then Vince invited them to the show, and then, like, you know, it snowballed into them actually being on TV every week with Bobby Heenan and all that when that was happening. So
it bums me out that I actually never got the opportunity to meet them, Credo.
Did you ever go to a lot of house shows back in the day? You never saw them?
Oh, God. You know what? For somebody who ordered every pay-per-view pretty much from 91 till now, I never went to go see a house show or anything live until 2003.
Wow, that's something I never knew, man.
You never knew that?
How do we know? I can't believe we've never had this conversation before. I feel like
it's embarrassing to say that out loud, dude. Like, and it's crazy because I did see 2 ECW shows prior to ever seeing a live WWE event.
Wow. Man, you know, it's funny for me because I remember going to a lot of shows, and I think when I got older, when I was in high school, that's when like Raw was starting to, or it was like middle school or whatever. They started doing more at the Civic Center, and I never went to those. I never went to the Raw over here, so it's kind of similar. But I mean, still, you missed a lot of house shows, Cooter, man.
Yeah, but I did get to see a hell of a show, dude. So check this card out here. Matt Hardy versus Spanky. Billy Kidman versus Jamie Noble. Chris Benoit and A-Train. Bill DeMott and Chuck Palumbo defeated Tajiri and Funaki. God. Lesnar versus Big Show in a no DQ match. And that was the one where the crowd was chanting for ECW and then Heyman was like practically in tears. And then healed on the crowd and said that ECW was as worthless as a woman from Poughkeepsie. And the whole crowd just went ape shit on him. That was hilarious. But you had Rikishi and John Cena, Dawn Marie versus Nydia, and Kurt Angle versus Edge. That's a pretty damn good card. And that was during the very first brand split. So it was a SmackDown show.
Wow, how exciting was it for you to attend your first house show, man? Because
No, it was the worst experience ever.
No.
Only because of who I was with. I mean, it was such a great show. And the one thing for me is that I always wanted to see Kurt Angle wrestle.
Yeah.
That was always the one person that I always wanted to see live. So the person I went with, who shall remain nameless, I showed up at his house with these tickets because he was going to drive up there.
Yeah.
And he had 103 fever, and he didn't want to go. So I was like, I'm going one way or another. So
yeah.
he sucked it up and went.
Yeah.
And literally, I think Edge came out first, and he's like, all right, we got to go. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? And then I think my next opportunity to see him was going to be at that ECW house show when it was under WWE banner, and it was supposed to be Tommy Dreamer versus Kurt Angle in a no DQ match. And he literally left the company 3 or 5 days before that show happens.
Huh.
So I didn't get to see him live again. Fast forward, now he's in Impact. The first 2 times that TNA ran the Mid-Hudson Civic Center, he's on the card and got pulled because of injuries. So I never actually got to see Kurt Angle wrestle live until this year's WrestleMania.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's an incredible story, man.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Wow. See, I think we're going to have to turn this into a fucking segment every week, man, to where getting to know the guys or something. I don't know. Maybe come up with a better name than that, but I didn't
Think about it this way. I saw the Danbury Fall and Rob Van Dam versus Jerry Lynn before I ever saw a WWE house show.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is incredible, everybody. You guys don't realize. But I do know one fact, though. I do remember you, I brought you to your first Raw. Well, I didn't bring you. We went together. But yeah, so I didn't man, still, I didn't even know it then.
Not only that was at Mohegan Sun. That's when I was riling up the marks outside, screaming like Hacksaw Jim Duggan, going, "Oh!" And they kept copying everything I said. And what was the other one? Oh, and here's another good one for you. I've always wanted to go to Madison Square Garden, but my goal was always to wait until the Knicks were good.
I love that.
and the first time I'm like, all right, this is never going to happen. So I think your wife had bought you tickets for Christmas for the house show, a couple of days after.
Yes, yeah, the day after
and
Christmas.
That was and we drove in the snowstorm.
Oh my
god. Yeah. So my first time in the Garden was with you. My first Raw was with you, and my first time seeing a WWE house show wasn't until 2003. What a little sissy I am.
And your first press box WrestleMania was with me. And probably only ever be with me. But Cooter, man, I can't believe we have this much history of epic firsts for wrestling together. We need to celebrate this like wedding anniversary or something.
Oh God, let's not talk about the first time you and I ever walked into a McDonald's.
That'll be for our Patreon account that we'll be launching soon, so stay tuned for that. But all right, enough with this. I mean, this is great stuff, but I think at the same time we're gonna have to find out a little bit about each other maybe each week because I love this. I didn't even know that story, and look at how much history it has to it. Joining us right now, we have WWE superstar, Total Divas star, Natalya. Natalya, thanks so much for joining us. Total Divas next season starts October 2nd on E. From what I've seen, it's a bit challenging for you, and coming from someone else who has lost a parent, I understand you're still grieving with your father's loss this season. What can the viewers maybe expect from you and the other ladies this season?
I mean, I think when you lose a parent or a family member or a loved one or even a close friend, it never really goes away.
Mhm.
And for me, while we were filming the show, we were doing our filming like just a few months after my dad had passed away. So for me, it's not like, I'm sure anybody that's lost somebody can relate. Like, you don't just have a funeral and you're like, okay, we're fine now. Like, it takes time to process everything and work it out. And of course, all that was happening during filming. And, we have some new cast members on the show, and Rhonda is one of them, Rhonda Rousey. Carmella is back on the show. And then Sonya from SmackDown, Sonya Deville, she's on the show as well. So it's myself, Naomi, Nia Jax, Rhonda, and Sonya. And, it's going to be a great season. But I think with Rhonda being on the show, I don't think anyone really expected Rhonda to be on the show. And with her being on the show, you see this totally different side of her. And, Rhonda's lost a parent as well. Her dad passed away when she was quite young. And, it's funny how we just connected on so many levels, not just in the ring and not just with her journey in WWE, but also about loss. And I think this season's so important because, we still continue to celebrate everything that we do in the ring. And this season covers the first ever women's main event of WrestleMania. So that's very cool in itself. But talking about the things that happen behind the scenes, everybody's journeys, you see all of us in the ring and we're always so fierce, but behind the scenes, we're human. And I love being able to share that. That's why the show is so important to me, is to be able to show people that are watching, like, I cry too. I cried just like people do at home. We're tough as nails in the ring, but we're also real. We're people that go through the same things that every other person in the world goes through.
How much has your life changed since just filming Total Divas? Because on that show, you get that curtain, if you will, being pulled back a little bit more into your personal life outside the ring. Has it affected you more maybe being on that show than in the ring?
Well, I think that my how do I say this without sounding arrogant? My popularity, I'm more recognized from Total Divas in a lot of ways. Like it's a little bit more mainstream for me, whereas WWE sometimes is a little bit more niche, for people that are wrestling fans and that are fans of WWE. But for me, being on Total Divas since the very beginning for 9 seasons, close to 150 episodes, I don't just have the WWE fan following me and following what I do, but I also have people that watch E. So it's cool because I get to experience the best of both worlds. But I absolutely love being on Total Divas. I have loved every moment of that show, and I think if there was one thing that I'm the most grateful for being on Total Divas and having it affect my life and change my family's life and for the better, might I add, is that I was able to share so many incredible moments with my family, with my dad, with my sisters, with my mom, with my husband, and with my best friends, my WWE family. I was able to document those moments on TV and share those moments with the rest of the world that, sometimes when you tune into Monday Night Raw, you only get a little glimpse of who we are. But to know about more of who I am from Total Divas, it allowed my dad to have a spotlight when he wasn't wrestling anymore. And so I have so many great memories and moments just from the show that are documented that I can go back and watch and go, oh, I love that. Or, it's to me, it's just been such a great way to share my journey and to relate to people.
No, for sure. And speaking of your father, too, has there been any piece of advice he used to give you, maybe either growing up or whatnot, that sticks with you to this very day?
My dad actually gave me some of the best advice I've ever been given. And he always told me just to have fun. And he said, when you're going to work and you're in the ring and you're trying to please everyone, you're trying to please Vince McMahon, you're trying to please the fans, you're trying to please your opponent, you're trying to please the producers that you're working with. He's like, make sure that you're having fun, because when you make yourself happy, you always will end up on top. And I took that with me. I mean, even when I was competing last week at Madison Square Garden, which, my family's had so many special moments at Madison Square Garden. But for me, I think just being able to have fun in the ring, that's when you start doing your best work. And my dad he always told me just to have fun. And I think sometimes people miss that. Sometimes people get so caught up in certain things, myself included. But when you go back to the roots of what we do in WWE, what we do in WWE is fun. It's one of the most fun jobs that you could possibly have. So I never want to lose sight of that. And my dad always reminded me to think about that and focus on the fun part of what we do.
WWE 2K20 coming out in October is also going to be showcasing the Women's Evolution, and it's going to have 15 matches featured in it, showcasing the span of the whole Women's Evolution, if you will. And you're going to be featured, I believe, in 2 of those matches in the video game. What do you think about women being featured now in a story mode for video games now with this whole evolution that you guys have been having?
Well, it's funny. I was talking to Becky Lynch about this the other day, and it's like, women aren't just like, oh, that was a good girls match, or that was a great, those girls had a good match. It's now like, that was an awesome match on that show. And I look back at my match with Becky Lynch at SummerSlam, and it was like, I'm so proud of that match, because it wasn't just like, oh, that was a good girls match on the card. There was 3 girls matches. It was probably, it was a good one. It was one of the best, I feel, and this is just me putting myself over. I feel like it was one of the best matches on the show. It wasn't just like we were being categorized as women. We had a great story, and our storytelling and our journey and everything leading up to that match, and our execution and creativity and delivery and just the journey. And it's like, it makes me so proud to think that women aren't just like, that wasn't just a great women's match. We're leveling out the playing field. It's like, no, and that's the great thing about WWE, with so much expansion in the company, with, NXT going to the USA Network, and with, Raw and SmackDown, and SmackDown going to Fox, which is an even bigger platform for SmackDown to have, to really get a spotlight, and NXT UK. We just have so many ways for women to showcase their talent.
Sure.
And not just be, oh, that's good for girls, but that's a great wrestling match.
Mm-hmm. Definitely, and you just mentioned it right there too. A few things with, SmackDown is going to Fox, and based on the promos that I've seen, WWE looks like they will be represented by the Fox universe very well. What can you have to say about this whole big move, and at least for SmackDown moving over to Fox?
Oh, I think it's amazing, and it's like, I think change is good, and change always brings about a fresh approach, and I think, there's a huge push for SmackDown to Fox, and you see all these ads on Fox, and, even when we were watching football the other night, you just see all these commercials for SmackDown coming to Fox, and you feel that enthusiasm from Fox. You feel their excitement, and it gets everybody else excited. And obviously, WWE has a great partnership with the USA Network, but I think the change is exciting. I think it's good for us. We have a great partnership with E. We have a great partnership with USA. WWE now has a great partnership with Fox, and Fox feels like a good fit. It's a little edgy, and I think like WWE is edgy. It's edgy, it's fun, it's exciting, it's family friendly, but I think change is good, and I think it's a great step.
Oh, sure. And lastly, one more thing. You mentioned NXT also moving to USA Network. Now, for maybe the casual fans out there, to where all the hardcore fans know NXT, they know that's on the WWE Network. But with this move to USA, basically putting them on the same platform, if you will, as Raw or SmackDown on cable TV, do you think maybe some of the fans will look at NXT now as that third brand, and not so much as, that they're like the developmental brand, if you will? Well,
absolutely. I think NXT going to USA I think it's long overdue, because as NXT has grown, even the Performance Center, it's like it's getting to the point where it's becoming so impressive and so successful that it needs change. And I think that, it's funny, the last time I was in the Performance Center, I saw all these different things that were added to it that I hadn't seen before. They had this whole, digital wing in the Performance Center, and I'm like, because the world is evolving. It's not just television-based, it's also becoming digital. A lot of stuff we see is, everything is evolving and advancing and growing at such a rapid pace, and, for WWE, I think that was the next step for NXT, for it to be on a bigger platform, because when we do shows like SummerSlam and Rumble and WrestleMania and Survivor Series, we feature NXT shows, and those shows, they do so well, and you can really get a pulse and a gauge for okay, there's an interest. There's a huge interest for NXT, and they have an incredible roster of talent. And for me, the biggest question is okay, so now that we have NXT on USA, what's the process as far as talent getting moved over? And I'm even interested as a talent going, I want to go and work on NXT on the USA Network. I want to have a match against Shayna. I want to work with Rhea Ripley. So for me, I'm all kind of feeling like the playing fields are becoming even, and it's not just a developmental territory. It's really cool. It's just expanding.
At the end of the day, is this kind of like the best time to be a woman in wrestling now with all the opportunities?
Sometimes I think about it, and there's I have a couple of different emotions on it because we had to fight for so long to get what we're getting now, but we finally got it. And so for me, I look back and I'm like, oh, like I wish we had this earlier because, I wish I could have showcased this when I was debuting or when, when Beth Phoenix was still an active part of the women's division. But listen, we have it now. I'm grateful for it. Timing is everything. And I feel like, because we struggled so hard to get it, we appreciate it more now. And now that the company is finally going, listen, the WWE Universe spoke up. They want more girls. They want more women's matches. They're all about girl power. And so the stars aligned, and it's like it's never been a better time to be a woman in the WWE. But now we can finally really embrace it and just run with it.
For sure. Well, Natalya, thank you so much. We're looking forward to the new season of Total Divas, and we can't wait for SmackDown on Fox, amongst other things. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Oh, thank you so much.
All right, once again, thanks to Natalya, WWE superstar. Now, Cooter, she's on Total Divas. The one thing that intrigued me about Total Divas when it first came out is I remember the commercials, and they were just showing, like, the backstage stuff. Like, during pay-per-views, just people hanging out. And that's what got me. I wanted to see the backstage. Pull back the curtain, see what's going on behind the scenes, if you will. It's kind of like the real world. We grew up on the real world on MTV, but
oh wow,
it's evolved. It's something a little bit different. But did you like that aspect of Total Divas? Do you like just seeing the backstage stuff? I don't know. It's just one of those. That's one of the draws for me.
I mean that aspect of it is cool. And it kind of shines them in a different light where it's. Even though the show is called Divas, you kind of see what they're going through on the road. I mean, there is some funny stuff, and I'm sure some of it is potentially scripted, but just those little tidbits like what you're talking about I've always been a fan of. But I mean, it's not just that. I mean, with their history of reality television, there's a lot of stuff, from even back in the day that I enjoyed for those same reasons.
To where I understand that a lot of these shows like Total Divas, Total Bellas, all these shows they have a scripted element to it, to where, like Cooter, like they know the scene is going to be me and you in a room at my house, and then they'll be probably like, Credo, I want you to bring up what you were doing this week. You know what I mean? To where they kind of like almost like wrestling, they kind of like set you guys up, and they know that something happened, and they want to get like this real, emotion out of them. So I get it, to that point, but. Just watching it, I think, though, from Total Divas, Total Bellas, I kind of like seeing what these guys and girls do on the outside of, wrestling every time. We just see them in the ring. We never get to see who they really are unless we meet them at an autograph signing or whatnot. So I love reality shows is what I'm getting at. And I love wrestling reality shows, Cooter. Any of these, though, stand out to you? I mean, through the years, we've had a handful.
Oh, God. I used to love when Tough Enough was on MTV.
I loved Tough Enough on MTV, yes.
Even when they came back that one year with Stone Cold, was that USA?
Yeah.
I think that was USA. But I used to like it when it was on MTV.
That one was even good, too, and they cut it short. Man,
which one?
The one with Stone Cold, yeah. It was like one season, then they cut it short, then they came back a few years later or something, too, even after that. But
I thought that was the last one.
Yeah, I mean, this is the one with Mandy Rose and like Paige was a guest too, or Paige was
that
was like the last one they had, yeah.
Yeah. Oh shit.
Those are fun too, because I mean, you kind of see what they're putting them through to be stars or whatnot. And then Patrick Clark was on it, Velveteen Dream was on it.
Oh my God, yeah.
And the girl who won, like, never even did anything with her contract or whatever.
Oh, either did that Gator dude. Remember what the hell was his name? Oh God. But the thing that I used to like about when they were on MTV, and as great as WWE is with making those like packages, for prior to matches and stuff, MTV is really good at using music.
Yeah.
And just some of the stuff that they used to do where, they were hip to what sounds were in at the time. So they used that to help get these. And that was the thing. It was the first time we were seeing what it would take to become a superstar, and these people getting trained, and
Yeah.
that production value really added to it to me. I mean, not to say that WWE is a slouch, but when it came to, at the time, knowing what was good in terms of music and how to really show it, I thought MTV did a really good job.
No, yeah, that's being a video editor myself, I love putting music to stuff and
Yeah.
just animating it, making it pop, if you will. But yeah, that was totally. I mean, and that's what WWE can't do, because then you got to buy all the licenses for it and whatever. To where MTV has it, to where it's like, oh yeah, well, we're music television. They have rights to a lot of these songs. So yeah, just
and then they would even come out with the soundtracks for Tough Enough.
Yeah.
I mean, they had They had Let the Bodies Hit the Floor. They had Digital Bath from Deftones on one of those things. I'm like, who would even think of using something like that but MTV? It was just very oddball songs that, I mean, I personally knew of, but I mean, a lot of other people, what the fuck is this? But just really cutting edge stuff.
No, yeah, and you know what's funny? Tough Enough actually spawned some wrestling legends, if you will. I mean, we knew The Miz from MTV, The Real World.
Yes.
But he also went on to Tough Enough. So, from there, then he even got, his WWE contract through there, even though he didn't win. But John Morrison was on Tough Enough. Did he? He didn't win. I forgot who the winners and losers were. But I mean, there's other names too. I can't think off the top of my head. But I mean, some of these guys were on Tough Enough and then made it big later on in the WWE, which is, I love seeing that.
The guy who went to Harvard, Chris Nowinski or something that. Yeah. Who the hell else? Like, remember Nydia?
Yeah, that's right. she got some success too out of it. Like
Tori was another one. Not Tori Wilson, but the other Tory, Xbox Tory.
Yeah, DX Tory. And that's what's funny about it. I mean, as people watching it or looking back at it today, they're like, whatever. But it was one of those things, like you're watching The Real World or whatever, and then these guys actually became stars like a few years later, and then, like, to see that progression was really cool. I think from somebody who's a fan or whatnot. I loved on Total Bellas to where it evolved from Total Divas to where John Cena, because John Cena's a really great guy. If you ever meet him, a really nice guy to meet. But to me, I'm like, how much of this is just like fake? Where they're like, Cena, we need you to be really strict.
Poor guy.
Or is this really him? And if it's really him, I mean, no offense, but like the rules, and I understand, like, people come to your house and they're living there, like, you can have certain rules, but man, he's got like, like the mansion on like a magazine cover where there's like, it's perfect,
that couldn't
everything.
Have been real, the rules, dude. Come on.
I really want to know.
And if it is, goddamn, John, could you imagine?
It's got to be a work. That's like the biggest thing, the secret I want to know in like my deathbed. So was it a work?
Yeah, right. Let's bring one of the Make-A-Wish kids over to his house and see if he has to follow John's rules.
I'll tell you, Cooter, if I ever talk to him,
take your shoes off.
If I ever meet him or talk to him, I'm gonna be like, listen, off the record, just between me and you, I will die. We'll take this to the grave.
We'll take this to the grave.
Was that real? Did you really? You know what I mean? Like, it's one of those things I want to know. But it was funny seeing it, especially with Daniel Bryan there, and being like, the hippie to the family, and then
and it even kind of culminated, like. Like Raw and SmackDown, they culminate at WrestleMania, and even Total Bellas kind of culminated at WrestleMania in a way. When he asked her to marry him, I'm like, dude, I don't remember which WrestleMania it was, like 2 or 3 years ago, whatever it was, but dude, could you have done that in front of all those fucking people and to have the most romantic moment of your entire life on pay-per-view in front of all these people who are like literally sticking their finger down their throat going, like we're here for wrestling. Like, not to say that it wasn't cool, but you know what I'm trying to get at. It's just...
Well, I think the one biggest thing out of that is that that's forever immortalized, and they're not even together anymore.
I know.
Like, you gotta be careful with these relationships and, like, in wrestling, because, like, I've read so much, of, like, who's...
Do you think that because of something like that, which is why they kind of pulled back with the whole Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch on TV type of thing? It's like, man, maybe we don't want to push that just in case it doesn't work.
I know, yeah. It's like, it's good for like a little bit, but like, let's not go full blown like Macho Man Elizabeth with it. Maybe, and you know,
Yeah.
because it's tough, man. Because it's like that
Oh.
those reasons. Where I wonder if John Cena like even begged McMahon just to, like edit it off the network. So like, because you know,
All right, listen.
that
I'll
was
give
like
you.
that was a
I'll give
moment.
you $5 million. Just cut it off.
It like never happened. I'm kind of curious. I wonder if that's like if you could search for that on the network, if it'll show
But
it.
you know what's funny too is that you brought up Macho Man and Elizabeth, and I remember when they were both in WCW,
Mhm.
and she was kind of with Flair for a little while, and oh god, the storyline was terrible. Like they were using her divorce money to buy these big spreads of food and shit to feed Rick. Like Liz was paying for like the Horseman's catering. It was like, oh, this is so taboo.
No.
But at the same time, it's like, well, it's kind of out there. We might as well do something if they want to. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, life imitates art, art imitates life. But you know, like I said, just like seeing into and you know, being able to see into their lives, it makes them more like it humanizes them, makes them more personable. To where now I feel like for Natalya, for example, to where like I see her on TV, with everything she went through with her dad. You know,
Yeah.
it's like you become their friends, like, and you know, you become attached to these characters, and you know, for the women to where you know through the years they weren't used on TV as much, but with Total Divas and Total Bellas now, you know, it's almost like they give them more life outside of the ring, and it just kind of like balances out, if you will. But you know, they get more fans out of this. I think, you know,
Yeah.
it brings
And
me
the
to like we're fans, we're friends of them now.
The fans love that stuff. Even the stuff they do on the network with a lot of these specials where, oh god, where they did the Alexa Bliss where they follow you around for a year.
Mm.
They did that with her. I want to say, who the hell was it last year? They might have even done it with Rhonda, but just really, really cool stuff. And even shows like Ride Along,
Yeah.
where they're sitting there in the car just telling road stories, bullshit, and like that's always cool. And I remember when we were younger, and we loved to hear like stories and who wants to bury this guy and who wants to talk about like shoot interviews and stuff.
Yeah.
Like that Table for Three show can be really good. I mean, there's some potential to have some really good episodes of that. But from what I hear, they film a lot of stuff, but they really cut a lot of it out. Like who was the one where they had was it Hayes, Bischoff, and Cornette? And Cornette was saying like they filmed like I don't know if it was like an hour or 2 hours of it, but they only aired like 25 minutes worth. I'm like,
I know, like you have a network, you want to let people tune in. Keep
Yeah,
it all,
really.
man. Keep it all.
come on now, I want to let me hear the juicy stuff, Vince. God damn it!
And you know what's sad too is even like Legends House, they sat on that forever. Like it did, like they filmed it, and then like 2 years have gone by, and it still hasn't like.
I want to say it was more than 2 years.
I know.
dude.
I don't know. There's something like that. Like it hasn't hit the light of day, and like, and this is like when the network was launching, and so like they're holding it for it, so they didn't want to put it out anywhere. And then you know, like when it happened too, like you know, Piper didn't died probably not too long after that. Who?
I don't think it was that.
Well, I mean, he wasn't. It wasn't like probably just a few years after it came out. I mean, like at least 2 or 3 maybe or something. It wasn't too long after.
Yeah.
But you know,
You look at that. A lot of those guys are gone now. Gene is gone.
oh, that's right, Gene. Yeah, Gene Okerlund.
Patterson was on there. Was Hillbilly Jim on there?
Yeah, Hillbilly Jim. Out of the
Um,
South, Jimmy Hart, Hacksaw.
right. Hacksaw was on there.
Hacksaw
And,
just had a fucking surgery too. Something I just saw on the news anyway.
Who used to tag with Rocky Johnson there? Tony
Yeah,
Atlas. was-
yep.
That's right.
But you know, I love these reality shows. I mean, we've seen a lot through the years. If you could possibly come up with a reality show on the spot, if I could put you on the spot right now, what would you want to see made into like a WWE or anything dealing with the wrestling world reality show?
You know what, man? That's a tough one. Like, I think the only thing that they haven't done is potentially film what goes on during creative, and
Yeah.
like creative meetings and stuff like that. I think that would be the only thing where they really haven't touched on, where they've shown people on the road, they've shown people backstage, they show people recovering from injuries, having surgeries. You know, they've done everything.
I think NXT
But
did it
you
really
really
quick
want-
for something.
Yeah, but if you really want to pull back that curtain and like have them follow around Bruce Pritchard or whoever's like doing a lot of creative, or follow Paul Heyman around, like somebody who's like high on the higher up. Like, you know how they do that year long where they follow you around for a year?
Yeah.
Do that with Pritchard, or do that with like Paul Heyman, somebody who's in charge of something, because that would be really fucking cool.
Reality shows, it's something they need more of, I think, at the end of the day. Maybe more reality, less scripted, but I guess we understand what has to happen. So after this stacked week of wrestling, the following week is the brand split, another draft. I'm sorry, it's not a brand split, but it's a draft. And I'm saying, man, they have to stick to it. Like, nobody goes on any other show. Like, maybe at the main pay-per-views, that's where they cut. They're all on the same show, but they have to stick to having, this is Raw, this is SmackDown, this is NXT.
I would love to know if Fox had something to do with that.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, maybe they want certain people on their show, and just.
But I mean, to be exclusive.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, and I'll tell you what, if this deal works out really good with Raw, I guarantee. I mean, with SmackDown, I guarantee you they suck up Raw whenever their contract is due, and just having Raw and SmackDown on the Fox network, it'll be pretty big. I mean, I know NXT just moved to USA, but that could be another thing down the line. I mean, it's still network television, but if adding wrestling to their repertoire of NFL and baseball and every sport in the world. Pro wrestling's, it's got the numbers, you got the fan base, it's still it's still
you know what nobody's
sports.
Talking about?
Yeah.
Is the day. Friday is and I want to say it was Bischoff when we talked with him a while back. He made mention of how hard it is to get a rating on a Friday, because it's just one of those days that is not necessarily good for television.
Yeah, I mean, it's the beginning of the weekend. You're going out. You don't have work tomorrow. Are you really going to stay home watch live TV unless, I mean, if it's a big day. From Monday you're home. It's the first work day, right? Tuesday you're home. Wednesday you're home. It's Friday. You count. To me, Friday is the weekend. Yes, I have to work, but I don't have to go to bed early, kind of a thing.
And that was the thing. I even remember, like, before you had kids, like, you and your wife you were always going to the movies every Friday. Like, you were always going out doing something.
Yeah, man. Yeah, you're going out doing whatever, and like that's the thing. So it is a tough day, but
it's a tough night. Yeah.
But I think they're gonna get a lot more fans, because just what is it like? It's not on like Fox 5, right? It's like on the Fox Sports channel. Like, I don't even know what channel that is yet. I gotta look up on my thing.
Network television, so I'm assuming it's on Fox 5. That's why it's such a big deal. I think that they're gonna have like secondary programming on like Fox Sports, like, but I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be like, for us, it's supposed to be Fox 5.
All right,
at least that's my understanding, and I could be wrong. So please tweet at Credo if I'm wrong. At Credo.
You could visit your own too at Angry_Cooter.
I don't fucking tweet. That Twitter is the scum of the earth.
Well, they also said that if you download the Fox Sports mobile app, you'll be able to watch it on there too, live, because I know it's not going to be live for everybody on the West Coast. They're going to be catching it, taped or whatnot at their time code or time zone or whatever. So at the end of the day, man, I don't know what we're talking about next week, but I think it's almost like we have to check everything going on before we figure out what's happening with the show next week. So a lot of wrestling, Cooter, man. A lot of wrestling. Monday, Raw. Tuesday, Impact. Wednesday, AEW and NXT. Thursday, I don't know what's on Thursday. And then Friday, SmackDown. So, man. And then
Thursdays when we record the show, because it's the only tape we're going to have to do anything.
I know. We're going to have to move that to Thursdays. And then... Man, and then Sundays, if there's pay-per-views, you got like one day of downtime.
Weekly podcast is going to suck. How are we going to fit all this shit in a fucking rundown, Credo?
All right, guys. Well, support this week for AWP comes from Manscaped, who is #1 in men's below-the-belt grooming. Manscaped offers precision-engineered tools for your family jewels.
That's right, Credo. We have to thank the people at Manscaped for the beautiful box of goodies that they gave us, bro. So I definitely gave some special care around the Bruce Banner area, if you know what I'm talking about, Credo.
The Bruce Banner area?
Listen, I'm a grower, not a shower. All right? So keep that in mind, and let's talk about what's really important. The big balls that this angry motherfucker has. Let me tell you something. If I could best describe this, it would be like, imagine taking an infant and putting it in the middle of a king-size bed. That's basically what it looks like down there. So, we had to shave it up, make it look a little more presentable. So, we use all sorts of razors and all that. And next thing you know, you're nicking your yam bag and you're making it look like a fucking Ric Flair blade job. It's terrible, dude. We can't have that.
Well, that's why Manscaped has redesigned the electric trimmer. Their Lawnmower 2.0 has proprietary skin-safe technology, so this trimmer won't nick or snag your nuts.
That's right. You don't need to get your nuts stitched up. You don't need Band-Aids. You can wear white underwear again. If that's your thing, I'm not judging, but you're not going to make it look like polka dots, okay?
Manscaping accidents are finally a thing of the past. And Cooter, don't just use the same trimmer on your face as you're using on your balls. That's
Who
just
the hell
nasty.
does that? You don't want fucking pubes all up in your beard, Credo, because I know you got that big grizzly beard. Next thing you know, you're going to be pulling them little... That's disgusting, bro. Use the right tools for the job.
That's right, man. Manscaped also has the Crop Preserver, an anti-chafing ball deodorant and moisturizer.
I'm going to tell you, I've actually used this stuff. This is quality shit. And let me tell you something, all right? We all know what I do for a living. I deliver the mail, okay? And let me tell you something. I do a lot of walking. And these big old Bruce Banner balls I'm on, they do a lot of rubbing. And they get hot. And let me tell you something. It keeps me smelling good and goddamn fresh, okay? Let's just leave it at that. But if you need a little bit of a whatchamacallit, like a re-up there, they got that revitalizer. You can clean yourself up with some ball wipes. They got good stuff to keep that area nice and clean, bro, and smelling nice and fresh.
You already put deodorant on your armpits, so why aren't you not putting deodorant on the smelliest part of your body?
You're goddamn right, Credo.
So, everybody listening, get 20% off plus free shipping with the code AWP at manscaped.com. Always use the right tools for the job. Your balls will thank you.
That's right. You support us by supporting our sponsors. Promo code AWP, bitches.
So get 20% off and free shipping with the code AWP at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com. Use promo code AWP. Cooter, this week, this is it. This is the week coming up, man, is D-Day, if you will. It's the season premiere for Raw and SmackDown. It's the debut of AEW, and it's the first full 2-hour show for NXT.
The first 2 episodes of NXT, the first 2 hour, the live hours on USA, were incredible. The way they opened up last week's, and this week, geez, I can't believe my mind is blown. They're sticking to their model. They're not just going to put their big name stars on there to try to go up against AEW, because I don't think they have to. I think with that crowd in Florida, which is basically like a hotbed for wrestling, to me, like, Orlando is just as exciting as a crowd as New York or Chicago. They had that same feel that TNA had in the Impact Zone, so they can help get anybody over. And if the crowd is really into who's on television, then I think the people watching are going to be into it too.
NXT, I remember becoming so fast the thing to watch. It was, the best wrestling WWE was putting out there. And, it was like almost like, an underground cult or an underground following. Like, hey man, you gotta watch it on the network. You can't watch it on TV. So then you gotta get the network. And it was a big, pulling point for the WWE network to get it. That was like one of their main draws, to where you're gonna have NXT live every week. Then you have the pay-per-views, and then, it was one of their first, like, live shows, if you will, for it. So it's exciting for them to be put in front of more faces. It's exciting for AEW starting this week because people want to see it. It's the unknown right now, so it's interesting, like they got to check it out. They want to see, be it an epic fail or an epic, success, and people just want to see a car crash. They want to see something. They want to see them going after each other. Just competition, I think, again.
There's no question about it. And let me ask you, in terms of next week, we know some of the matches for AEW's, is it Dynamite?
Dynamite.
It's a great
TNT.
name, guys. Yeah, oh my God.
Wednesday Night Dynamite.
All right, just look at the card. Forget the names. All right. How interested are you in AEW's card versus NXT's card? Because the card for NXT next week is stacked.
No, yeah, I mean, just some of the things happening. They have, it's Chris Jericho and a Mystery Partners versus the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega. Could it be a new team debuting? It's just another way for you to tune in. Nyla Rose versus Rio to crown the first AEW Women's Champion, so, another draw for them to have, the first championship debut on the show. Cody versus Sammy Guevara. Nah, I mean, that's not drawing me. John Moxley to appear because he's still, is he still out with that MRSA or whatever on his hand or something?
Yo, that's a tough, staph infections, those are brutal, dude.
Yeah, so he's...
Recovery times, it all depends, man. It's... Foof.
So yeah, going through their card, MJF versus Brandon Cutler, then Adam Page versus Pac. I don't remember Raw announcing everything, or I get that they have to do to kind of just draw people in. But I mean, surprise matches are good too. I don't want to know some of these. Some of them I guess you kind of have to announce. But I mean, I think AEW has a solid first card because there's a lot of room for more surprises than some mystery people. But
look at next week for NXT. You have Baszler versus Candice LeRae, which is awesome.
Yeah. You
have Undisputed Era versus what is it? The Street Profits. And now you have Adam Cole defending the title against the original bro, dude, Matt Riddle.
Man, that's gonna be a great match. I know.
I'm like, boy, way to really stack the card. You're basically calling it a Night of Champions on the first 2 hours live on USA. That's incredible card, dude.
No, Cooter, we lived through these Monday Night Wars. We were there. We did it. I remember switching back and forth, and, when one was on a commercial, I'd go back to the other one. And it was hard, man, because I would have to tape one or, you have to watch one.
I did flip back and forth, and if there was something that I thought that I wanted to see from Nitro, it always replayed right afterwards. So I would check it out there. And then, I don't know if it was Saturdays.
That's right. Are you talking about the replay? They showed the show right after, right?
Yeah, Nitro replayed directly after Nitro.
That's so smart too. It's just you could watch it live, but then if you did miss it, you could get more ratings by having them watch it over again, kind of thing.
Raw would I don't know, between their Saturday programming and I'm pretty sure it replayed on some other channel. Maybe it was a Spanish channel or something like that, but it was always in English.
I don't know what I'm going to watch live because I can kind of do both to where I could watch maybe one on my phone and one on the TV. But I think I want to give them the benefit of the doubt. I think for the first one, I just want to watch one all the way through and then watch the other all the way through. And then the following week, I'm going to be all right, well, I didn't care. You know what I mean? I might start switching back and forth. But I think for the first week, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. So that's going to be exciting. It's a big week. A lot of things are going on, especially for WWE. But Cooterman returns and debuts, if you will, because now NXT is going to go 2 hours. So they have that landscape of adding more names onto TV. So one surprising one is Lio Rush becoming the number one contender for the Cruiserweight Championship, which is now pretty much going to be featured on NXT. What do you think about that? We haven't seen him since probably May, I think.
I know. And you know what? I love the fact that the Cruiserweights are going to be on NXT, especially in front of that crowd. And because watching 205 live can be tough because depending on the market, if it's like a great market like New York or where the fans are really super smart, then that crowd is really excited to watch it. But if it's in some shithole in fucking Alabama or something like that, they have to put whoever's left in the goddamn arena camera side so it doesn't look like an empty arena, and it's terrible and it's quiet. And they could be having a fucking 4-star match, and there's just no reaction because there's nobody there. So I think they're going to be put in front of a crowd that's going to appreciate them, which translates on TV, man, because the way it looks and the way people are reacting to it is a big deal to me. You know what I mean?
Especially with Mauro Ranallo, too, calling the matches. I think that'll add a lot more excitement. Just all that rolled into one, so.
Oh, yeah, dude, who doesn't love Mauro Ranallo? I mean, I can't get enough of Mauro Ranallo.
And then the debut of Cameron Grimes, Trevor Lee, before he came on over. He had a quick little match last week, like one shot, one and done kind of thing. So love the top hat. Kind of reminds me of Slash from Guns N' Roses. And Dakota Kai returns. So
you're missing something very interesting too.
What's that?
They've had their first 2 live episodes. No Johnny Gargano, no Tommaso Ciampa, who I'm sure is still injured, but you'd think there would be some type of surprise.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that they didn't. There was no like major surprise for that first hour. It was just a great match, and it main evented with Roddy and Velveteen Dream. And like, that's the one thing that me and Mike always talked about liking about NXT, where you don't see the same guys every week. You would go when Nakamura was down there. You wouldn't see him every week, maybe every 2 to 3 weeks. You know what I mean? Depending on how busy. So this way you could fit more of these developmental guys in there. So I don't get sick of it. You know what I mean? That's the model about NXT that I like. And Mike and I were both under the impression that it's going to be tough for them to do that. But the fact that they've added in the UK guys onto the roster and now the cruiserweights, now, you know what, they might be able to do that for 2 hours now. So I think that's really good.
Yeah, man. And with all this stuff going on, everybody's talking about their favorites. Everybody's talking about, who they're going to watch, what's going on. But surprisingly to me is how much AEW has kind of been just putting down WWE or putting down NXT. And do you think that's a smart move? I mean, you haven't had a show on TV yet. Yeah, you got some cool graphics and you have some names on your channel. But, like, I feel like it's turning me off a little bit because...
Wait. What names do you have on your channel? Please. Enlighten me.
Well, so first of all, I mean, this whole thing's coming from, surprisingly, Kenny Omega, to where he had a little bit of a Twitter spat with Donovan Dijakovic. It's so easy.
Dijakovic.
I just want to call him Dijak. Can we just go back to Dijak? Because that was easy.
Just for it's easy for you, sure.
Just as easy for me. But no, I mean, I've met a Kenny Omega, a real nice guy. But I feel like all I'm hearing about every other week or something is about him, making fun of somebody or just talking down WWE. Even when Cody, hit the throne of Triple H or whatever, and made that like a part of AEW. I don't know. I feel like it's just. Is it too much? Do you think they're going to get attention from that? I mean, is it the right kind of attention for this, or can we just compete with good wrestling?
I think that's what Triple H is doing with NXT, because you haven't heard, the 3 dreaded letters out of their mouth. I mean, Sami Zayn said it once on television, but and Triple H said it in his Hall of Fame speech for DX. But other than that, like. They've basically just counter-programmed them without really mentioning them. And whereas back in the day, they were talking about this on Busted Open, and Mark Henry said, well, the promotion would talk about the other promotion, but they rarely said anything about other wrestlers. It wouldn't be like WWE saying how this guy sucked or whatever, which I have to politely disagree with Mark on that one. I mean, think back to when WWE was getting their asses handed to them and they were doing those Huckster and Nacho Man and Scheme Gene vignettes, you know what I mean? And I didn't like that then because, I
was still a fan of them. And yeah, it was
right. Yeah, those are like my guys from my childhood. But just because they don't work for you anymore doesn't mean I'm not going to enjoy them. But the point I want to make is, what has Kenny done to get himself over in America? So AJ Styles, when he was in Impact Wrestling, was considered a huge star and a pretty decent star in America, right? Mm. When he went over to Japan, was he an automatic big star? No. I mean, he kind of had to earn his way over there, and then they were like, wow, he really is that good, right? So you made a name because you had 3 great matches with Okada. That's I don't even consider great. Oh, and let's not forget your barn burner with the blow-up doll and the little girl. I mean, dude, I don't see what the big deal is with Kenny Omega. He's not all that great to me. I wouldn't have been one of those guys where if he had come out at the Rumble, had this, oh my God, because I'm not really a fan of him. It's easy to say that you're the biggest star on that roster when look at your roster. Who do you have on it, Credo? Who's on that roster?
Well, no,
all these guys would be, on my dark match, to my main event. Well, yeah, of course, all the guys are going to be in your dark match because you're the only, semi-star they got. And you haven't really done anything to get yourself over with the American crowd, except for the people who follow Meltzer who want to jack off to your fucking Japanese fetish. Sorry, you're not that impressive. Do something to get yourself over in the United States by yourself. Don't say anybody else's name.
No, and I think I said it a while ago when he first made the announcement that he wasn't going to sign with WWE and that they were doing this AEW thing, and I was like, he had such momentum. And after he left New Japan and now he's on the sidelines, he's not even doing Ring of Honor shows, wasn't doing anything. I'm like, out of sight, out of mind, to where, yeah, the hardcore fans will know him and whatnot, but to where you're not doing this every week, you're not doing it every month, people don't see it all the time, and then you get a kid who sees you once a year, they're not going to remember you, kind of a thing. So I feel like he had that momentum. A smart man. Yeah. I would have taken that WWE money. I would have went there and just
not only that, here's the thing. Remember he's talking about how what have you done to get yourself over with the American crowd? Whether you like it or not, whether you like the way they would have booked him, WWE could have given him a personality and could have made him a star.
Yeah.
But like you said, he hasn't done anything. So let's try this, Credo. You're making fun of Donovan Dijakovic, okay? Him versus Keith Lee was better than anything, and I'm talking any of the matches, even the double count out that they had, was better than anything that Kenny Omega did in 2019. So was him versus Luke Harper. Here's a list of wrestlers who had better matches than Kenny Omega did in 2019. Roddy Strong, Gargano, Adam Cole. Velveteen Dream is a better wrestler in 2019 than that jabroni. Let's see. Walter. How about Pete Dunne? How about the fact that Tyler Bate probably had the match of the year? And who's really talking about Kenny Omega other than when he opens his mouth and says something dumb? What matches he had in 2019 that even is on the top 10 list of matches of the year? Thank you. Moving on.
Well, there you go. So I, like I'm saying, every time I see something negative, like him putting down this or that, and he was like, I think he said AEW is not going to have developmental talent. All their wrestlers are stars already, or whatever. I'm like,
yeah, Joey Janela is just going to walk down to the ring drunk off a White Claw.
So it's too much for me. Too much trash talking, especially when you haven't really done much. So I mean, this is the week though. This is the day they're going to test everything. Cooter, with everything going on, let's throw another company into the mix. Now Impact is moving to Tuesdays, and they are all behind AXS TV, Access TV. So they moved for the 5th time in 5 years. So it's like the little engine that could, I guess, as JB said last week. Cooter, man. I mean, are you gonna watch Impact? I mean, people have been talking about it now with this
people
move.
have been talking about it. I mean, Tessa Blanchard is a star. I got to see more of this. Sami Callihan is doing big things over there. They might not have the biggest names on the roster, but from what I'm hearing, they're putting out a very quality product, and I have to check it out. I'm very curious. The fact that a network the size of Access, I mean, it's not the biggest fucking network. Let's not fucking, give them that great of kudos. But hey, we got you guys off of Twitch. It's a step in the right direction, right? But I mean,
yeah.
But from what people are saying who are watching it, it's a must see. So I really want to check it out.
No, man, it's exciting. I think this week is going to be nuts. We're going to be wrestling wasted by the end of the week, and just trying to figure out what happened to everything, if you will.
Well, that's the show. We want to thank you all for listening today.
Every week we do this show free of charge for you, the fans.
And if you're wondering how to repay us, we have just the thing.
Subscribe to us on iTunes.
Hey, and while you're there, be sure to rate us and give us a good review.
If you're looking for more information about AWP, then head on over to anotherwrestlingpodcast.com.
We are all over social media, and you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and more.
If you are an AWP superfan, you can also show your support by going over to ProWrestlingTees.com/AnotherWrestlingPodcast and buying one of our official AWP shirts.
We couldn't do this show without you, so tune in next week for
Another Wrestling Podcast.